Arsenal. Another win. Arsenal versus Leicester City. These are the Arsenal versus Leicester City player ratings. Just going to give a quick breakdown. This is really for people that missed the game. Just really giving like a more in-depth analysis. I feel like some sports sources, they're very brief. I'm going to give a very in-depth analysis. If you don't know, I've been playing soccer like my whole life. I played in college. So I have a lot of insight on the game. I've been an Arsenal fan for about 15 years, probably more than that. So, I know the squad in great depth. Now, Arsenal-Leicester City, this is an interesting game for me. Of course, there's like the history of when Leicester won the league like a couple of years ago, and Arsenal were like the only team that could seem to beat them. Then we finished second. So, there's always – that's my thing with Leicester. There's always like that vibe going on. But overall, I think this is the type of performance that shows that this is a much better team than last year. If this team doesn't finish top four, I feel like the EPL is just extremely competitive, which it might be, because we have to kick off Liverpool, City, Chelsea, or Spurs, and I feel like City and Spurs are pretty much lock-ins for me. Now I feel like we have to kick out one of those two teams, and then Liverpool playing the Champions League final last year, so it's going to be very competitive. But focusing back on this game. Great overall performance. This is a very solid team. I think a lot of teams are going to struggle to beat this team. This is a complete team, and this just reminds me of like what it takes to be successful as a soccer team. You just have to be very fluid from start to finish, very cohesive from start to finish. Everyone on the same page, everyone playing with good energy. That's what this Arsenal team brings. I think Leicester City was a better matchup for us because they're less physical. I feel like we struggled a bit against Crystal Palace. That's a very physical, athletic team. I feel like Arsenal aren't particularly an athletic, physical team. I feel like we're going to struggle a lot against teams like that. Thankfully, a lot of the top teams aren't super physical either. So there's only really a handful of teams that are like that. But I think Crystal Palace is almost like our nemesis, which, we lost them 3-0 before. But, Leicester is a different animal. I feel like this just showed what it would be like playing a normal-sized mid-table Premier League team. Personally, I don't think Leicester are that good. I obviously this is not the same team that won the league. They've gotten rid of all their best players. I really feel like this game could have been 4-0, to be honest. I feel like it was a weird game defensively for Arsenal. Like I said, I really feel like it could have been 4-0 easily, but it could have also been 4-3 or something. It was weird. It was a weird defensive game from Arsenal because I feel like Leicester didn't do much, but then they just had random spurt. It's the 3 attacking moves they had, they scored or almost got a penalty. It was just strange, but yeah. Overall, great performance. I like the energy. I like the cohesion of the team. But let's move on to the player ratings. So let's start with Aaron Ramsdale. He gets a 6 for me. I think that second goal was his fault. I think he'll be kicking himself. But, this is football. I still trust him in goal. I still think he's our guy. But he's usually making saves is his forte. Usually on the ball, not so much. It was kind of the opposite today. Sometimes you just have bad games. I feel like that goal he got scored on wasn't great. But what I liked about Ramsdale is, I heard, the stories of just how much he hates getting scored on and how much he hates not getting clean seats. So, I feel like that's a good attribute to have in a goalie. I don't want a goalie that's okay with getting scored on. But just the way they emphasize how much he hates getting scored on, that's exactly what I want from a goalie. I feel like you have to hate getting scored on to your very core. So, but, he gets a 6 because really, that second goal was just kind of sloppy. And he got scored on twice. Ben White gets an 8 for me. I think he was a lot better today than against Crystal Palace, probably because he wasn't guarding Zaha. I think he was thrilled that he wasn't guarding Zaha. But I thought he had a great bounce-back performance. And to be honest, he looked more solid than Tomiyasu back there. So that kind of worries me a little bit about Tomiyasu. But Yeah, I think overall he had a good game. Very solid on the ball, which is definitely his forte. Made some strong tackles. I think Ben White is a good long term player for Arsenal. I was very pleased with his performance today. Saliba gets a 7, only because of the own goal. I just have a very hard time giving a defender more than like a 7, and I think he did everything in his power to get a 7 because I really had him at a 6.5 half the game. I was like, sloppy own goal. But like he reminds me a little bit of Van Dijk, and that's a very good comparison to have. He's just very big, physical, strong, athletic, but very in control, calm on the ball. He's a heck of a player, and I hope he needs to get that own goal demon out of his head quick because I know he's a young player. But I appreciate the Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans really support him, and I think that's gonna really help him too. So there's a lot of good energy going on at Arsenal right now. Because I feel like if Mustafi did that back in the day, we would have been like, oh my gosh, we would have been rolling our eyes. But I saw in the game the crowd was still like kind of cheering him like, okay, you got this, come on. And he had an overall good game, I think, other than the own goal. If it wasn't for the own goal, I probably would have given him like an 8 or a 9. But, 2 goals for me. I can't give the back line really that strong of a rating other than Gabriel. And I gave him a 9. I gave him almost like bonus points simply because he did better than he did the last game. I thought it was a good bounce back performance. And I was very concerned after the last game because he looked kind of shaky back there. But this was more of like the Gabriel that we saw last season. So I thought he was very, very solid. I don't think any of the goals were his fault. He looked good back there. He looked really solid, make some good tackles. So Saliba and Gabriel are a very solid combo. If they can just get a little bit more on the same page. Leicester played some cheeky little through balls that I think they got to look out for. But overall, I thought he had a great game. Zinchenko gets an 8 for me. And he was a 9 right up until that second goal that we got scored on. I do feel like that was Ramsdale's fault for not making that save. But Zinchenko got clearly beat. And that worries me for Zinchenko. He reminds me a little bit of Cedric Suarez on the right side, but on the left side. Like, good going forward, does a lot of things well, but maybe not the strongest defensively. And that's personally why I prefer Tierney back there. Zinchenko, I think, is slightly better than Tierney going forward. Slightly. But, Zinchenko is a very capable backup. But I prefer Tierney just because I just feel like Tierney is just rock solid. Like, I feel like strikers or wingers probably hate going against Tierney. I personally would. Yeah, Tierney's the type of player I would hate to go against. Just runs all over the place, strong, aggressive, doesn't do anything wrong really, smart. I think Tierney's just a better player. But overall, great performance from Zinchenko. Exactly what you would want, really. Xhaka gets a 9. There's a lot of good ratings when we win 4-2, obviously, and I think Xhaka had a great performance. I think he's one of the most underappreciated Arsenal players. Very solid on the ball as usual, scored, and what I like about Xhaka is that he does score. So when you have like oblong players doing things, it makes a big difference in the game. So for example, I think of like an Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool and how he gets the assists he get. And when you get assists like that from like a fullback, it just makes a big difference. So like the several goals Xhaka scores per season makes a big difference. Goals matter in football, which is why this is such a great sport. Goals really define seasons, and like the goal that Xhaka scored kept that from being like a KG, possibly 2-2 or 3-2, into like a more comfortable 4-2. And I think that gives the team more confidence overall. And I think he adds an element of that attacking element. Plus, he actually works hard on defense. Overall, I mean, it's hard not to like his performance today. It was great. It was like a very vintage Xhaka performance. Partey 8.5. I think he had a much better game than the previous against Crystal Palace, and I was a little bit critical of him. I thought he wasn't physical enough against a team that is more physical. And I always feel like African players, the ones that I know play very physically, and I feel like that's like kind of like a trait of African players, and I feel like he doesn't necessarily do that. But that's why I'm so critical of him. But like he looked great on the ball. I think his passing was just slightly off. Some of the weight was just slightly off. But I think that'll improve as the season goes on. I think he'll get like more in sync. But overall, great performance. I was very pleased. He was very good on the ball. Didn't do too much wrong. And I think a strong midfield performance often wins games. It really comes down to the core sometimes. And Partey and Xhaka were excellent. And I feel like that really controlled the game. Odegaard gets a 9 for me. Great captain's performance. Overall, lots of running, simple passing. I personally, and I probably take heat for this, but I personally like him more than Mesut Ozil. I just feel like he works way harder on the pitch. And I feel like when you have players that are lazy, it just kind of like gives a weird balance to the team. Like obviously Ozil's like more of a genius going forward, but I just feel like Odegaard every time I saw him make like again just like against Crystal Palace, I saw him make like 3-4 tackles. And I feel like that makes a huge difference on the game, especially when you're the captain and one of the best players. Players look up to you, want to see, and you got to lead by example. And I feel like he does that. He works his socks off, makes simple passes. He didn't do too much wrong. I think he had a very underrated performance. I didn't hear the announcers or commentators say anything about him throughout the game, but I thought he was excellent. Played the position like a fiddle, and great overall performance. And he's becoming one of my favorite center attacking mids just because of the work he does defensively. They're seeing him and a Bruno Fernandes. I just feel like he doesn't do enough. I see a lot of players like that, especially from the center attacking mid position. But Odegaard is all over the place. Martinelli, 9.5. Fabulous performance. Lots of good energy. Martinelli has a special energy trait, and I've seen it for 2 games now, so I know it's starting to become a thing. My nickname for him is the mouse. He just reminds me of a mouse. The way he gets the ball, he just always like, he just looks like he moves like a mouse. So that's my nickname for him. He's the mouse. He just reminds me of a mouse. Just the way a mouse just is constantly just running all over the place. Likes to dribble. He's like an old school footballer to me. Likes to dribble, plays with some passion. Seems kind of pissed out there sometimes. Reminds me a little bit of Rooney out there sometimes, just angry looking. Martinelli he's making this team so much better because we need a left winger that can match our talented right winger Saka. So and just about today's performance, just excellent. Couldn't really ask for more. I wanted to give him a 10, but I reserved the 10 for Gabriel Jesus. Phenomenal. I think that was the best performance from an Arsenal striker I've seen since Robin van Persie. No doubt, no hesitation with that. And I've seen some all-time great performances in the last 2 games. I think last game against Crystal Palace, Saliba had one of the best, if not the best, defensive performance I've seen at Arsenal like ever. And then Jesus, today was just sublime. I can't remember the last time I gave an Arsenal striker a 10 rating. It's been a long time. He just does it all, man. Everything. Like, what else can be said? Just the dribbling, the passing, the anticipation, and what I really liked about Jesus was before the game even started, he looked ready. He was like, I just saw him before the game. He was like, let's go. Like he looked ready. He looked ready to play. I like that motivational energy. I think he links well with Martinelli too. I know they're both Brazilian. So I think there's a nice little culture going on with them. Yeah, Jesus was fabulous. And I almost gave him a 10.5. I really did. He was like the first player I would have given a 10.5, but he did miss an easy chance. But that happens sometimes, especially when you're like desperately looking for a hat trick. I'm surprised he didn't score that, to be honest. I literally think he missed the easiest chance he had all game. But overall, it's hard not to give him a 10. That was like 2 goals and I think 2 assists. Like, that was fantastic. Saka, 8. Yeah. What I like about Saka is that he can be quiet and still be very effective. Like, I've seen players like maybe Pepe, who's quiet but like doesn't really do a whole lot. Saka, Pepe just too laid back. Saka is like he don't need the ball too much to be effective, and he plays kind of simple sometimes. I think we're looking at a phenomenal player with Saka, and he hasn't hit peak form for this season. Wait till he hits peak form. Just wait till he hits peak form. And I'm glad he hasn't, because it would be an overkill at this point. Because I know at some point Jesus is probably going to dip a little bit, and same with Martinelli. And it's football. It's always like this. But Saka, he looked solid today. Again, kind of quiet. I think there was maybe one moment where I think he should have just dribbled at the player a little bit more and been a little bit more aggressive. But, we're looking at a great player, just waiting to explode. That's how I feel about Saka. And I really appreciate his defensive work as well. Him and Martinelli, just the way the whole team works is something that I'm just so pleased to see. I feel like I've been waiting for this for like 6, 7, 8 years. Just a team that just plays like in unison like that. But yeah, overall great performance. Nketiah, 7.5. He came on, looked dangerous, good, solid backup. I can't really say much bad. I feel like, hey, I'd rather have Jesus in there, yeah. But Nketiah looks a dangerous lad. I think he's a smart lad. Nketiah seems like a smart lad to me, because he just kind of like does like cheeky little striker things. You see why he scored the way he scored last season, why he got a new contract. He's a lot smarter than he seems. That's the Nketiah. Because he kind of looks like a goof to me. He looks a little bit like a goof, but like he's smarter than he looks. I could tell by the way he plays. He does like little cheeky things. He's gonna score a lot of goals. Like he's a natural goal scorer. He just kind of has that like movement, that like anticipation, that he just has that. He really just has that. And I feel like that was actually missing from a player like Lacazette. For me, Lacazette is not a natural goal scorer. But he was playing striker last year, and that about sums it up. I love Lacazette too. But anyways, and I was going to say about Lacazette with Jesus, I feel like Jesus is more like a better Lacazette. I feel like we play better with strikers that can actually like do well on the ball, like dribble, pass, things like that. I feel like Jesus can also score, and that's the difference between him and Lacazette, really. And he's just a little bit more younger and athletic. Tierney, 8.5. I personally, again, prefer Tierney at left back over Zinchenko. Let Tierney fly until he can't fly no more, and then put in Zinchenko. That would be my game plan for the season. I don't want Tierney to get too out of form or lose any amount of confidence, because I feel like when he's playing and he's playing his game, he's one of the best 2-3 left backs in the league easily. He overall, he's one of the most complete players as a defender I've seen. Just does everything well, really. There's really nothing you can say about him. And I just think he's way more solid defensively, and he looked solid defensively today when he came on. I don't think they scored when he came on, so he was looking good out there. Smith Rowe, 7.5. I need to see a little bit more from our number 10, man. I need to see a little bit more from the number 10. I don't think he understands the competition going on here. I need to see a little bit more from him, though. I think he played okay. I also feel like I'm so glad we even have a sub that's that good. That'll definitely make a big difference on the overall season, for sure, when you can just put in a player like that. But yeah, 7.5. Obviously didn't play that much, but I think I would have liked to see just a little bit more energy, enthusiasm out there. But 7.5 about sums it up. Tomiyasu, 7. Tommy got me worried, man. I know he hasn't played in a while, so he's probably just had the jits and lost a little bit of the speed of the game or whatever. But yeah, he didn't look too good out there. I'd almost prefer Ben White, to be honest. Um, I would prefer Tomiyasu last week against Zaha. I think he's more like a shutdown type of guy, but after playing today, I kind of see why he didn't play last week. I'm a little worried, but I was pretty worried about Gabriel last week too, and he kind of turned it around. So I think Tomiyasu just needs some time to get back into form, because I feel like he is like a natural defender. Oh my gosh, United already got scored on. I'm watching the United game. It's trash team. That's hilarious. Uh, Arteta gets a 9 for me. Um, I don't know what else he could have done. I probably would have put in Nketiah a little bit earlier, and I probably would have put in Smith Rowe a little bit earlier. But I think he was also smart for holding them, because I think Martinelli ended up scoring when I would have swapped him for Smith Rowe. So Arteta knows what he's doing. He put out the exact same lineup. He's like, okay, beat us this time. I like when coaches do that. That's what I would do as a coach. I'd be like, okay, just beat us and keep playing the same lineup till somebody beats us, really, and then make adjustments. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it. So overall, like 9. I mean, I don't know what else he could have done. I don't know who he would have swapped out for who. Personally, I would have preferred Tierney in there versus Zinchenko. I think the game literally could have been 4-1 or like 4-0 had Tierney played, but that's just my estimation. Ref gets a 7. I personally felt like that Jamie Vardy penalty was a penalty. It was soft, and then I also felt like the Jesus one was also a penalty. So I guess the fact that he called it both ways makes sense and is acceptable. I actually gave him a boost of a point for that. I feel like some of his foul calling overall was kind of off, however, and for that reason he gets a 7. But that's overall the game, guys. I had a great time watching the game. It's on Peacock for free, so like, holy cow, I can actually like watch a lot of these games in like high definition and whatnot, so and not have to pay. So like, it's been a good time, and this is a very dangerous Arsenal team. So hopefully the rest of the season goes well. Great team, great result, and great performance overall. So peace out.